Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're all doing well. So today we're going to be taking a look at the G.I. Joe classified budo. I just got this yesterday, I believe. It released out here in the UK and it's now starting to ship and arrive. So I've been tinkering around with it, checking out all its features as always. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Are you getting one? Do you think this is a much needed character within the line? And if so, how are you going to display yours? Are you going to go with the traditional samurai look, or are you going to go with the sort of modern military samurai kind of look? We're going to take a look at both looks today, what he comes with, how to incorporate each look. So I've got him stripped down to his sort of bare bones in a minute so I can show off each accessories that he comes with. But first, as always, I'd really appreciate it if you guys hit the like, comment and subscribe buttons. And yeah, let's get into it. So I don't know much about the character. I'm still sort of reading through the history of G.I. Joe Classified, watching videos of characters' histories and things like that, and I'm yet to get to budo. So if you guys in the comment section want to tell me a little more about him, some obscure facts and things, that'd be greatly appreciated. I might start looking into doing an outsider's look into the world of G.I. Joe, someone who has only gotten into G.I. Joe because of the classified line. But taking a look at the figure here, Hasbro has always been a very hit and miss company for me when it comes to their figures. I started out collecting Black Series because I was a huge Star Wars fan, but that's a different tale for a different time. Then I started in Marvel Legends for a little while with the MCU stuff, and I kind of just sort of dipped out of that. But when I sort of caught a first look at the G.I. Joe Classified Snake Eyes, the character intrigued me so much that I started picking up a couple of random G.I. Joe Classified figures, and I was hooked. So this line has gotten me into a lot of this sort of stuff now. It sort of cemented me into the collecting world. And again, a lot of these have been very sort of hit and miss for me, and to me, this one I think has been a very good hit. I do like it. I do have some nitpicks, but overall, to me, this is a solid deluxe figure, and it is a deluxe. We all know how we feel about Hasbro deluxes, especially in Black Series lines and things like that. But this is a very good offering for a deluxe figure. Now, I'm aware that recent price hikes have gone up. They're yet to hit here in the UK. A lot of our retailers are kind of swallowing that cost, but G.I. Joe Classified in the UK became Pulse exclusive for a long, long time. So you could only really get them from Pulse at retail prices. But some retailers still offered Classified, but at a slightly marked up price because obviously they had to import them from other third-party companies via China, Hong Kong, things like that. So you could kind of justify that in a way. And I always say support indie toy retailers. So for here in the UK, you got In-Demand Toys, Kapow Toys, Star Action Figures. They're starting to get G.I. Joe Classified again, and Kapow, I think, has been one of the best in terms of pricing because they tend to mark theirs down. Like you could get, I think one of the recent offerings was the Grim Viper for £19, and then plus, I think it's like £3 something for postage. So it balances out. But let's get into the actual star of the show here, budo. Now, as I said, he is a deluxe figure, and I think he is a very well done deluxe figure. On my copy, I've only got one slight nitpick, and that is his legs here. To me, they don't look right. These look like these are the wrong way round. I'm not sure if it's picking up on the camera, but this seems to be going that way a little bit, and that one's going out that way a little bit, where I feel like these should be going inwards, not outwards. So I don't know if that's a factory mistake in them putting the the foot joint onto the wrong bit and then putting the actual boot swivel part onto the wrong leg. So I'm not sure if that is just a factory error. I'm yet to do a heat and pop and swap. I've kind of left it as is for the review right now. But let's get into some detail, shall we? Now, he comes with two different heads. He comes with a sort of longer, dishevelled, unshaved look. Sort of like he's been through some stuff. I'm not sure if this is sort of more comic or cartoon accurate. If you could let me know in the comments below if this is his normal look and this is just a sort of more modern update look. I do like this this top bun knot more, the shaved sides. It's traditional sort of Japanese samurai look where they tie their knot in the top bun. But overall, he poses as a normal G.I. Joe Class 5 will. Can do his T-pose, standard butterfly joints, double ball at the neck and the head, so a lot of range right there. He has a double elbow, as you can see right there, and standard wrist rotation and pin and joint right there. He is completely pinless, as most G.I. Joe Class 5s are. I believe all of them are pinless. Has the ab crunch cut here, which, if I'm being honest, this is the only outdated joint in my opinion. I do prefer a ball torso. It does have it at the waist though. It does have a ball waist. Unfortunately, the swivel was not exactly the best on there, so another nitpick. Thigh rotation, double knee. To quote Robo, can he kick his own ass? Yeah, add a stretch. And forward facing pin for a rocker. So plenty of posability with this guy. Does come with a service pistol, which I believe is the same one that Helix comes with the extended mag. Don't know what type of pistol this is, so if you guys want to inform me in the comments below. So let's get into his other accessories. So for other weapons, he comes with this rifle of some kind. Same one that came with Dusty and a bunch of other figures, but this time it's done in all black. Again, don't know what the rifle this is, if it even is a real rifle or anything like that. Again, military guys, gun guys, let me know in the comment section below. But he also comes with a couple of swords. He comes with a slightly longer sword and a Shoto blade. I'm not too sure if that's the right one. Again, I'm not a weapons guy. I do know a little bit about sort of Japanese katanas and things like that, but not a full comprehensive history, so I'm not sure what this is actually called. I've only ever known it as a Shoto blade or something like that. It's just a shorter samurai sword that I believe they use for closer combat, and I think it's also used in the event of seppuku. I'm not going to go into detail of what that is, because otherwise YouTube will yeet my channel. And then he comes with a longer blade. Actually, surprisingly, really like this long blade. I think it's really cool. And then that comes in his scabbard, but I'll show you that when we don his more traditional samurai look. So we're going to start with his sort of more modern military look. So to do that, we're just going to pop his head off just for convenience sake. And then we shall start with his belt. Now his belt comes like this, and it has this little notch and tab system here, so you just sort of wrap that around, line it up, and these do come off nice and easy, and they do stay on fairly well. I do wish the plastic was a bit more rigid, but Hasbro's always been known for gummy plastic. That's just the nature of the beast. And then we'll start also with his gauntlets. So to put his gauntlets on, I don't think it matters. I don't think there's an actual left or right. Oh yeah, there is. There's a little R in there, so you know which one it is. So this is his right gauntlet. Just pop his hand off, put the gauntlet through, pop his hand back on, and that stays in nice and securely there. Grab his other one. Again, pop his hand off. Slide the gauntlet on so it's nice and secure on there. And then it can be a little bit finicky at times trying to keep the gauntlet in there and then sliding his hand back on. So we're about halfway there. Okay, and then I'm just going to lie him down real quick. Then onto his chest plate. Now, I'm just going to zoom in on his chest plate really quickly. It's really nice. It's got Jesse Kyle A on there, so don't think the camera's wanting to pick that up nicely. And then I believe this is his clan crest. That's also on there. I'm not sure what clan he's from or anything like that, but there is some nice detail on here. You got G.I. Joe in sort of like a Japanese writing right there. So that's really nice. Nothing on the other side. And then his back. I do like his tactical look, but I actually prefer him in his traditional sort of Japanese samurai armor. So that just slides over, and then there's two tabs on each side. So if you just lift his arms up, you can sort of see just there. Just tab these in, and these tab in fairly well, fairly nicely. They do stay there, but again, I do wish that the plastic was a bit more rigid, just to sort of cement it a lot more better, so that way things do stay nicely. And then you can go with two different kind of looks here. When it comes to his modern sort of style, I prefer putting his red sash over his neck, like that. And then you just pop his head on right there. And then his helmet. Get a good look at his helmet right there. Has a little comm unit, so it's been sort of modernised. There's even a little pouch on the back of his helmet there. I don't know what you'd store in that. Maybe a battery for his comm unit, maybe. But that does just sort of slide on nicely. You do have to sort of stretch this thing, his little chin strap. One thing I've found is that this is very tight, and it's very thin plastic right there, so you are stretching it, and I think that's just due to the nature of his top bun that's in his helmet. You can, like I said, the helmet does fit on there nicely, and then what you want to do is you want to take his other blade and then just put it in his scabbard there. And there you have sort of Budo in his sort of more modern military look. I like it. It's certainly a style. I think the colour scheme does work. All the browns and the greens and things like that. It's nice. I do wish there was a bit more colour per se on there. Maybe some silver. Just on like some like these little notches and things, just to sort of really make this pop. But overall, it does look nice. I think options are always nice when it comes to figures. I like the idea of the customizability of things, such as like what Valorverse offers and things like that, which I'm going to be doing some Valorverse reviews really soon as well, guys. So look forward to them. I've got Day of the Dead Sidewinder on the way, hopefully really soon. So keep an eye out for that review. But yeah, this is a sort of more classified, modern militarized look. And again, it's serviceable. I think it's, if you're into the more modern military sort of style, it will fit right in there. You can put him with like Storm Shadow V2, Snake Eyes, things like that. He certainly blends in there quite well. But just deconstructing him again, so if we just take his helmet off. So we're going to go and switch to his more traditional Japanese look, which is the way I'm going to be displaying him. But as I said, guys, in the comments, do let me know how you are going to be displaying your Budo figure. Now there's one extra sort of step when it comes to doing his sort of more modern, his traditional Japanese samurai style, and it's his holster. You do kind of have to sort of remove it because this skirt piece will not close and sit flush with the holster on, which is a little bit annoying, don't get me wrong, but then again, if you're going for a sort of traditional samurai, I don't think they really carried pistols and things like that. So stripping him back down to his more bare bones again, so he's fairly odd. We're going to start off just with his gauntlets. Now again, has a right and left, and I love this look for him, so I am going to be admitting to a bit of a biases here. So just pop that on there like that, and again. Now, right out of the packaging, my hands were very stiff in there, so I would recommend, as with a lot of G.I. Joes and a lot of figures lately, you want to sort of dip them in a heat bath, just some warm water, just to sort of loosen them up a little bit. And then we'll get his skirt piece on, so it just tabs in at the back. Just wrap that around him nicely. I find it's easier to sort of just pull this skirt up a little bit, so that way you can just tab it back down and then just nice and gently slide it down, so that way it's nice and on there. And then his new chest piece, and this just slides over nicely. Just lift his arms up. And one thing I find that with his more old school and traditional, I'm going to use the word traditional a lot with this sort of look on him because it is a more samurai look, is it sort of makes him look more beefier and tanky. And I like that. I like the idea of this guy being a big, brutish sort of samurai. Now there's a couple of extra steps in this one. So we're going to start off with his legs. So it comes with these nice shin guards. So I find it's easier to start off with the bottom bit. Just hook that on, and then it will just sort of slide on nicely. So as you can see, they're just sort of held on by a little bit of friction in this grip here. And then do the same for the second side. And there we go. Here are some new chin guards. Now there's this nice also neck piece. You can just sort of leave it there, but what I find is just get your nails and just sort of wedge it in there, so that way it stays in place a little easier. Move his neck, so that way you can sort of slide it in, and then that will just stay in place nicely right there. Now you can also go full more traditional, and you can put his straw cape on, and just for a bit of difference, I'll show you what this looks like with his sort of longer hair. It's a bit weird because with this cape bit, his head doesn't really want to sit on there, so I'm going to forego that for a minute. In fact, let's just take this off real quick, and then I can actually show you what this bit with his head on there looks like. His hairpiece does kind of get in the way, so I can't really pose it, and I feel like if I just move his head slightly, it's going to pop off. But there he is with his longer hair. I don't display him with his longer dishevelled look on. To me, this look, I'm just not fond of. I'm not fond of the way his sort of hair tufts come down like that. So I don't really display him with this head anyway. So yeah, let's grab his straw cape again. And that sits nicely in there as well, so it's a really cool look. And then we'll just grab his more his better looking head. And he does come with this helmet with this look on. Now, unfortunately with mine, it doesn't sit all the way, and I think that's because of his top bun. I can't seem to get his eyes to line up with the mask. It's a nitpick, but it is annoying. It is noticeable when you're looking at it. And then let's just get all of his weapons in. So take his shorter blade, and then from this set you can take this blade out, put that blade on. And one thing I found is just pull his elbow in, get that bit on, and then thread his arm through. It is easier if you remove the head, but just to save a bit of time. There we go. And then you can put his longer blade on his back. And there you have his sort of more traditional samurai look. So let's just move all his tactical stuff to the side. And this is how I'm going to display him. I'm going to take his helmet off, because I'm not going to display him with the helmet on. I like his sort of barefaced look within there, but this looks really awesome in my opinion. I love this sort of more beefy look at this brutish samurai coming at you look. But overall, he retains the same posability. You do lose a lot of the ab crunch, things like that, and a lot of his leg movement with this look. That's just because of the nature of the skirt and things like that. They do fold out, so you can sort of brute force it, but this look is more rigid. So let's get him holding his let's get him holding his long blade there. He holds all his weapons fine. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Are you picking this guy up? What look are you going to display him in? Are you going to go like I am, this more old-fashioned samurai, or are you going to go more modern military tactical samurai? I tend to float between the two. Every now and then I will change up the looks, but for the majority of the time, this is how he's going to look for me. Again, I just like the sort of old-style traditional Japanese samurai. But as always, guys, like, comment, and subscribe. I apologise for any of the video quality, by the way. I'm just a dumbass with my phone and a little fold-out table. I don't have a full setup just yet. My house is in the middle of a bit of a remodel at the moment, hence why I've been busy with less uploads and things like that. So I'm hoping to have a nicer setup for proper reviews really soon. Check out my last video on the Ramen Toy Hunter Tank review. But yeah, like, comment, and subscribe, guys, and I will see you in the next video.